Welcome to another episode of Love Living Local 315. We are your hosts, Scott and Kelly Greats, and today we're joined by Daniel Clark, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, former Utica firefighter and paramedic, and founder of Adirondack Spirit Leadership Forge, helping first responders and veterans heal, lead, and rediscover purpose. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So your life's all about service.
Yes, sir.
All right. So from the Marines, and thank you for your service there to our country, to the fire department, talk a little bit about your journey and why service has been so important to you.
Yeah. Well, it started out with my parents. My mother was a school teacher for the city of Utica, 20 years, and previous she did 20 years with the Catholic schools. 40 years teaching kids.
She's seen some stuff.
Yeah.
You don't do it for the money. You do it for sure.
Especially not the Catholic schools,
Yeah, exactly.
So that just service on her own, I mean, she was always giving out to the kids, whether it was spending extra time with them after school or, if one of her kids didn't have the proper equipment or tools that they needed in the classroom, she would go out and buy them personally, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. So that's kind of why I'm rooted deep with the children aspects was from her. But the public service, that was my father. He did 32 years with the Utica Fire Department, about a decade as the union president in some of the most tumultuous times in Utica. He went through a lot of cuts. A lot of guys got hurt on the job. And the way families kind of pulled together during that time is something that society in a whole is just kind of fallen off the wayside with, so to grow up in that environment, both with, a teacher and then a father who was public service, and then the two of them bringing that together to create a whole community, that's where all of this is derivative of, so when I see another family or I see another child or another person just like myself that's struggling, it's something that resonates and it's something that you feel like you have to act upon. So that's why I do it.
Yeah.
So talk about, did you enlist in the Marines right after high school?
Yeah, basically, that was a rough experience. My parents didn't want me to go in. My dad had gone to Katrina for like 2 or 3 months to help in recovery efforts, and he saw some really awful things. He also went on 9/11 to Albany. Basically, the way the plans worked out in New York State was when, firefighters are hurt or whatever it is, and they have to backfill. Utica's ultimate place is in Albany. Albany's is like Yonkers and so on and so forth. So it was all very personal to both of them. And, for two people who live a life of dedication to service, to have to give your oldest son to the same thing is a very tough concept to grasp. Sure. So after a little bit of, teenage butting heads, I ended up pulling the trigger anyways. So it was rough. They weren't exactly happy with the decision, but boy, were they proud. And then that kind of turned into, a development of bonding and a whole new relationship because, they now have to grasp with this difficult truth that I'm going to be going to war and, I joined the Marines and all the things they were trying to prevent, doing what they did is now coming to truth.
Mm-hmm.
There's two sides to the service conversation. There's a side that we like to talk about, which is good on you and go country and go team and how awesome Dan is. And then there's the side that you're left with, right? Yeah. And so many that do the work that you do, which is trauma.
Sure.
And, situations of burnout. And, I'm not going to I'll let you talk about it, and you've been open about it, obviously. So, talk about that side.
Yeah, absolutely.
The lonely side that not everyone.
Yeah. And I'll just start with the Marine Corps first. I just lost a good buddy a couple weeks ago, Dave Truglia. I went to Iraq with Dave, one of the most brilliant minds I've ever met. He's the kind of guy that spoke like 6 languages, and he picked up Arabic in 3 months just to speak it and be knowledgeable. Well, that kind of brilliance and dedication, it could be very lonely if nobody understands you, especially if you have no purpose after having such a profound purpose, right? And that is like one of the biggest struggles across the line, whether it's in the military service or frontline service, whether you're a police officer, firefighter, doctor, nurse, whatever it is, to go through these unique experiences that are extremely profound and real because it's life. We're talking about real life and death. And then to come back home and live in a society where it's very detached from those emotions, or they're numb to it because it's, glorified on TV, So to talk, to explain to somebody who hasn't been there or felt it can be very difficult and very lonely. And if that goes unchecked and you don't find your purpose, you don't find your people, you start projecting things. Not necessarily because you're a bad person or that you think that you're traumatized, but because it naturally is going on, your body's just going to go there. And you can't prevent it unless you proactively go and do something about it, which is, talking about it, find like-minded individuals, grounding techniques, getting out in nature. These are things that 100 years ago weren't such a big deal because society was outdoors. Everything we did involved being outside in nature, getting, fresh air and the energies from the world that are all very real, but stuck in a box 24/7 and not going back to those things will cause you to add another little, piece of liquid into a cup that's full.
Yeah. And just the community, like when you think about it, you are with men and women, living so closely to one another with the same purpose and the same end goal.
Yep.
And then you come back and you're just like, okay, what do I do now? And it's got to be extremely lonely, like you said. And so let's talk about, was there a specific moment when you said, I need to do something?
Yes. And that had come only after months of my wife telling me that she was seeing these signs and symptoms, right?
Right.
So especially somebody that was a Marine, right? There's no way that I could fail at being a firefighter.
Weakness or
for
sure.
No, especially not a paramedic, right?
Right.
I'm fixing holes. I'm not putting them in,
Yep.
you know what I mean? It's just, it's a whole different mindset. So to the morality things that you think one would struggle with, or at least I thought I wouldn't have to struggle with, were very real and there, and I wasn't addressing them. So when I was snapping at the kids, one of the things I tell a lot is, how many times do we go into the bathroom and your kids leave the clothes there for the umpteenth thousandth
Does that ever not happen?
Right, exactly.
People tell me I'm going to miss that someday when they're gone, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure I go to my father's house and I take a shower there just to leave clothes for purpose now, But yeah, I mean, you tell your kid 1,000 times, hey, honey, go put that in the hamper. Like, let's clean up a little bit. But now you have nowhere to put it. There is no patience. There is no calmness. And the first thing you're doing is reacting like you're in a war zone or in a fire or whatever it is. And it's, go clear. I mean, what are you doing? I can't believe you would do this. And, it's just not appropriate. It's not appropriate for yourself. And it's most not appropriate for them. So the way I look at it is trying to treat your own inner child first. Right? If you can't take care of little Dan, if you will, how are you going to take care of Autumn and Macy and Grayson? So when I try to put myself into check, instead of flying off the handle when I see the clothes, I go, all right, Dan did that once. How would he like to be addressed, knowing that it's got to be picked up anyways and Dad's going to come confront me? So now I got to go have those conversations, that mindset. And again, if we don't talk about it, it's not something that we keep in the forefront of our mind. So we do have those natural reactions.
Yeah.
Often we apologize for it, but the damage is done.
You are fortunate to have a spouse that encouraged you to get to the place you're at now, right? And be able to have those conversations of, okay, pause, here's what's happening, reflect, adjust, come about it with a different angle or approach. How hard is it for people without that support system to step up and say, hey, I need help, or I need someone to talk to? How do we find those people? How do you find those people?
Well, this is something that we are getting better at. When I first went out of work in 22 to 23, there wasn't an abundance of resources. It wasn't talked about in a public setting very often. It was all very buried. So when you are alone in that aspect and you don't have a spouse like mine, it's, is this real? Am I really suffering? What are these things that people are telling me? And instead of getting the help, because there's the stigmas, the bravados out there, and, a lot of people are afraid of repercussions. In the VA specifically, in the military minds, because we already have this stigma around us that there's these mental health issues, we're afraid to go get help because now you'll have this record. If you go want a better employment or whatever it may be, a good opportunity, you're now afraid that it's going to be taken from you because there's this rating, there's this thing that says, you're broken, which isn't true. The way we look at VA disability and the way we should look at mental health in a whole is, where were you at day one when you showed up? Okay. All of the damage or things, I don't like to really call it damage, all the experiences that we go through are all going to have a check mark in the box. It's all going to take a little bit of dirt out of, your perfect hole, right? How do we replace that? How do we make the land perfect again, right? Because it's being removed, the damage is being done. Well, that's easy. We actually go and get into communities that are like-minded, that are understanding these things and promoting those good, healthy things, right? So instead of us being alone, even without a spouse, now we're going to like a Legion, or we're going to a community event. Love Living Local. You guys yourself put on many events around here just for young entrepreneurs. There's a lot of veterans who can't fit into a box, so they try to create their own businesses. One of the best things that they can do is come to one of your events and network and meet somebody, right? But that's, again, it's all like-minded individuals, and it's all, at the end of the day, a mental health thing that we're trying to, work on, give ourselves purpose.
And I am glad that there is a lot more focus now on mental health. Yes. And it's a real issue, and it's an issue for service people. It's an issue for people that are in the service industry, not just veterans. You've got teachers, you've got nurses, you've got first responders, because when you think about it, your job is to help people, but sometimes it doesn't always go the way you want it to go.
Correct.
Or there's circumstances that then you internalize it, and then you're in this place where you feel like, oh my gosh, I failed, or I don't have anybody to talk to. So I do think there has been a huge push in a ton of our service industries for mental health, and just letting people know it's okay to need somebody to talk to.
Yes.
It's okay for you to feel unstable at times, but you need to do something about it.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. Right.
That is a huge thing. And we say that to our kids all the time. It's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
Like, there's certain things that are going to happen. And if you were okay, you wouldn't be normal. And I hate that word normal, but
right.
It's okay to react in certain ways when you're upset or you're in a situation like that. So, I do think that we're headed in the right direction. So let's talk about Adirondack Spirit Leadership Forge.
Yeah.
What is it? What do you do? What kind of impact are you hoping to make?
Sure. So we just talked about all the things that got me here, right? What is the preventative? What are the things that we do not only just to prevent, but then heal and prevent it from happening again? That's what Adirondack Spirit Leadership Forge is. It's taking all of those ideas and putting them in one centralized location in order to start this process where we're both doing the preventative and the healing. So what's that look like? That looks like me going out to police departments, fire departments, doctors' offices, schools, things like that, and having the conversation about mental health to address the fact that it's a very real thing that we are all affected by, regardless if you want to admit it or not. So when things like, Anthony Pacente started this mental health walk thing, right? Perfect example. You're all the way alone and you're looking for that group to come together with. There it is. There's the start. Adirondack Spirit Leadership Forge is now going to be something that's going to be regular with a physical location where we don't have to wait once a month to go do this, because there's always going to be something.
A once-a-year event or something like that.
Exactly. Yep. A collaborative location where you can do all of these things. And on top of that, it's going to be a new age resource that takes old theories and mindsets with new age technologies. So I want to bring a Chi Life Master Center. And that goes with this idea of Adirondack Spirit, because it's these copper coils that do resonant frequencies. Now, you think about your body as an energy field, which is all very real, and the VA teaches you this stuff. They say you have to understand your energies if you want to heal from mental health.
This is Scott's jam. He loves energy.
So your silent retreat is like perfect for this, right? And when you apply these things, these vibrational frequencies, so basically put these copper coils in beds or wands or all sorts of different things, they vibrate within your body. Now think about anxiety or anger or sadness. All of those things, if you were to stick a electrode to you and try to measure that, would give you a number. So you as a perfect resonant state, normal, right, is like 75 hertz or whatever. You know, I'm not saying it is, and this theory. But because you're anxious, it's at like 90. So now you listen to a song or you lay onto this bed that's giving out these frequencies, and just naturally, those cells will revert back to their resonant state. Now apply this to a police officer, right? Dan's going out and going to talk to UPD. Hey, we got a mental health stuff going on. How do we address, your young police officers who are not taking the proactive steps, right? We're waiting till it's too far in order to address it. Well, you go to a domestic violence call. Things are rough. We're still not in the perfect mindset we were when we first came on to shift. Now imagine listening to a song on a headphone. And these headphones are putting out, 70 hertz in this ear and 90 hertz in this one. And this police officer, 10 minutes of this song, back to resonant zero, feeling normal. Now we can go deal with whatever call comes with this and not have this, energy or amped up fight or flight triggering response. And again, it can be applied to every setting, right? Now you take schools and our children, especially with what we're talking about with ADHD and autism and things like these sensory overloads. These are devices that take those overload senses and bring them back to normalization. Again, just like the silent retreat, or I met another veteran who's out in Syracuse who owns Stasis Float. Stasis Float is the same thing. It's you go into these rooms where it's all blacked out and you lay on this liquid that keeps you floating. So it feels like you're just floating in space with no sound or anything. That emptiness is a way to reset.
Yeah.
Right. So Adirondack Spirit, let's go to your business. Let's go to, your police station, your fire department, your whatever it may be. Let's talk about the things that are causing you to feel these things, and then the ways that we can ground or heal or keep ourselves in a good state so that they're not affecting us. Yeah. They're going to happen. Yeah. We just need to address the effect.
Let's talk about the healing grounds, right? So you're talking about going to people now. Sir. Do you have a physical location where people go to you?
Not yet, but that is in the works. I'm currently looking for partnerships or any like-minded individuals that are interested in promoting this thing. It's not just me. I'm looking to find people who are like me that want to heal our communities, that want to find those things that bring us closer together and keep us in a good state of mind. Just look at politics, right? If you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, it doesn't matter. Everybody's just at each other's throats because of a mindset. Well, we're always separated. We're not going to do these joint things. Let's create a place that has all sorts of different events for everyone so that we can, get people out of their houses, stop, disconnecting from each other because of a failure of communication. If our only communication is through a keyboard,
So paint a picture for the audience when you say not yet, but you're looking for like-minded people. what do you see? What's your vision for this specifically?
So my vision is to have a physical location on a couple 100 acres of land. How that goes about is a work in progress. Veterans are unique in a perspective that we can access grants and funds and lands that the government controls that they have no purpose for. Mm-hmm. So if we can repurpose some land that is, not being used into a healing outdoor center, that's ultimately the goal. So if there's, a politician that wants to get on board, or if there's a doctor that wants to get on board, or another veteran, firefighter, it doesn't matter. I'm open to everyone because the end goal is not Dan running Adirondack Spirit. It's a community working at Adirondack Spirit to change itself.
Right now, this is your passion project.
Correct.
And you're doing this solely yourself.
I am.
Okay. I just wanted to understand that. So how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in going through a workshop? Do you
Sure.
do
Yes.
workshops, right?
Yes, that's correct.
How long?
So that's all dependent. If it's one of those things that you want me to come and talk about a seminar or whatever it may be, we can do a 1-day, couple-hour function. Or it could be something where I come and visit you once a month and we track how things are going, because it's one thing to go and give these ideas and tell everybody the great way to do it, but then there's another whole aspect of the follow-up, right? We see a lot of these big names talking about mental health, but where's the follow-up, right? So now not only are we talking about this, let's come back in a month and see how the metrics have changed and whatnot. On my website, Adirondack Spirit Leadership Forge, LLC, I have contact information to where you could reach out to me to get me to come to your location, or we can set up something within a leadership group, which is my primary focus, and it's a multi-day excursion, whatever it fits the billet for your unique setting. If your group of leaders likes to go golf, let's go on a golf retreat to Myrtle Beach for 5 days. But on that golf retreat, we're not just going to golf.
Right.
I'm going to give each one of your people that you're bringing along with this a goal, a project, whatever it may be. And through these bonding experiences, both fun and through this, mental health workshop, you're going to grow closer together. And the point of this is the mental health family aspect is start turning these businesses or, departments, not just as employees showing up to, work, but as families showing up to keep a community going.
Or to give them community, like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. Yes. Like you might have, first responders, nurses, teachers, anybody. And there is, like I said, a huge push for mental awareness, mental health awareness in all of these sectors. So to know that you have other people that are feeling the same way you feel and giving them that opportunity to network and come together, whether it's once a month or once a week, or that's awesome. Like
yes.
I can definitely see where, and I don't even know if this would be true or not, but even would it be covered under insurance? Because I know a lot of companies have mental health covered under their insurance because they want their employees to be of good.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I did when I got my LLC is I went to SBA and SAM.gov, and I said, look at how can I turn this business into something that replaces what an EAP program is?
Right.
Right. So public assistance programs for, whatever job it may be, or even for a doctor's office, they are more of like a resource that you call and they say, okay, well, I know this place that's out here to go do this thing, and you got to go schedule it yourself.
Right,
it's not an all-inclusive thing.
One-stop shop, yeah.
Right, and that's kind of what we want to change, right? So now you're calling Adirondack Spirit, and if you need the physical rehab or the mental rehab or whatever it may be, now instead of us sending you out to 10 different places, it's here. Your EAP program for all of Central New York is this 200-acre facility that is all-encompassing and is promoting community.
Mm-hmm.
Just for clarification, what's EAP stand for?
It's an employee assistance program, and it's basically what anybody in the public sector, like a firefighter, police officer, DPW, CSEA, if they have any type of need, whether it's financial, physical, mental, they call these places in order for assistance.
Gotcha. You do so much one thing we haven't talked about is your involvement with the American Legion. I hope I don't get hate for this, but I'm just gonna say it. All right, I think a lot of people think American Legion and they think a bunch of old people sitting around a bar.
Yes.
Right. It's true.
It is true.
So debunk that.
Yep.
Gladly.
And share some of the initiatives and programs that the American Legion is doing.
I'm glad you brought that up because it really is the biggest stigma that we deal with young veterans. And the reason why young veterans aren't going to join the VFW and the Legion is because they do think that it's a place where we're just going to go get drunk. And again, we're a different generation. We know we're having these issues, and alcohol is not solving them. So we're going to keep ourselves far from it. It's not that, though. So the American Legion on its own has recruited some pretty big names. There's a gentleman, he goes by Mandatory Family Fun Day, and he does these videos all across social media platforms that promote the younger generation and how, if you're looking for that like-minded individual, if you want to be proactive to go talk about your experiences, things, here's the place. That's just to get you in the door. Mm-hmm. Not only is that offered to you there, but we also have these other things such as scholarships for your kids, baseball programs, bowling programs, every family function that you can think of. And all you have to do is be some sort of relation within the military. You don't even have to serve yourself. If your mother, your father, your grandfather, we have ways for you to become a member. And again, it's not just benefits for yourself. It brings the community together, but the big part is our kids, because we want to promote these healthy atmospheres in our future. One of the big things that I'm a part of is Boy State. Boy State is a week-long program that's run at Morrisville State College, and it takes juniors from all across the state and teaches them government all the way from the smallest local level, like a dog catcher, all the way up to, a senator or your governor. The two best will end up going to Nation, which I think it's 2 weeks or something like that, and they run the entire country. And these kids, these juniors, are trying to pass bills, actual bills and legislation that start out as theories and ideas from youth and actually end up on the floor. So, we don't talk enough about those things, and everybody's always saying, well, I wish we had these programs to get our kids involved in government young and think. Well, they're there. The American Legion offers it. Is it enough? No. Do we need more? Absolutely. But we need to start taking these ideas and bringing them locally and regularly. My goal with the Legion in children and youth and Boy State, Girls Nation and Girls State is another thing, I'm just not involved with it, is to hold monthly meetings if we can. And those meetings are going to take your governments from the schools. So your sophomores, juniors, seniors. And again, this is all theory right now, and we're working on this as a project. And they run each department of government, if you will, but through your school, and actually try to solve problems. So maybe your juniors are taking care of the financial aspect of the government, and your seniors are at the executive level, legislative, everything that you can think of. Give that to a group within your student government. But you're not just doing it at your school. Now let's meet once a month or once every other month and bring all the schools together in a central location and run it like a governmenting body of, schools acting as counties and, trying to develop these things outside of just a Legion mindset. There are some programs that try to do it, but right now a lot of those are very politically motivated and fueled. So this is our chance as a community to come together and think, hey, how can we do this, take the politics aside of it, and give our kids a voice, a future, in a way like Boy State and Girl State does, to actually get some things solved that the kids are actually suffering from. The adults don't have all the answers.
Yeah. Well, or any, sometimes it feels like. But I love your passion for everything you do, but your whole demeanor, your voice, your body language changed when we got to that piece of it. So I can tell you're you're committed to that for sure.
Very. A lot of my trauma stems from youth in every aspect. We talked a little bit earlier about COVID. Yeah. And one of the things that I struggled with a lot was just how everybody gave up on our youth. 21, end of 2020, beginning of 21 was a real enlightening period for anybody who was, working in the medical field. You saw a lot of youth coming in with mental health issues, and that didn't go away. It just got buried. Yeah. So.
And there's a lot of kids that still struggle from that. Yeah. The social impact that it had
we legit
on
call
some
them
of
COVID
our
kids.
Development. They're the COVID kids. And it's so apparent that they struggle with communication skills. They struggle with eye contact. They struggle with those
anxiety.
Foundational skills that make you a human on human levels, that we are going to see the impact of that.
We already are.
Well, I'm sure, and we have kids that went through it, and our 20-year-old, and it was crazy. And so
let's get off this subject.
Yeah. Okay. I know.
Before we say stuff that Jay's gonna have to edit anyway.
I know. But
I think my daughter's appreciating the same.
No, and it's not just it's them as a whole that that group, and they're trying to rebuild and learn the things that they missed out on. But let's talk about how people in the Mohawk Valley can support your mission and get involved, and what are some of the things they can do to help support you? Yeah,
absolutely. Again, my website is a great location to where you can find a lot of my information. I put up regular blogs, and through those blogs, I show my own struggles that hopefully you can relate to, because they're not all specific to, just the Marine Corps or the fire department. It's a dad and things like that. So again, you could go on the website. All of my information's there. You can get in contact with me. You can schedule me to come to your facility. If you want to go set something out for a community event, I would love to do that. My phone number's there. Can I give that?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. My phone number is 315-796-4247. And my email is Adirondack Spirit Leadership Forge @gmail.com. Both those ways you can get a hold of me and just start the conversation. Honestly, that's the best part.
Awesome. Well, Dan, we end all these with rapid fire questions. I'll let you.
You want me to start?
Start, yeah.
Okay, one word that describes the Adirondacks.
Rebirth.
Like it. Biggest lesson from the Marines?
Humility.
What keeps you grounded today?
Family.
Advice for someone struggling in silence?
Talk.
Mm-hmm. What healing means to you?
Life.
It's the first. We've been doing this podcast for over 2 years.
That was amazing.
That was the most concise rapid fire we've ever had.
That is exactly what it's meant to be. That is exactly what it's meant to be.
We've had rapid fires go for like 15 minutes.
We're like, these are supposed to be quick, just off the cuff.
You crushed
what comes
it,
to your mind, and you did it perfectly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Listen, when we talk about service first, you embody it, you epitomize it. Service not only to our country, but to our community and to those who need it directly and also indirectly, and now serving our next generation too, in different capacities. So, Daniel Clark, certainly appreciate all you do and who you are, and thanks for your time and insight today.
Yeah, thank you. Do you mind if I just mention one more thing?
No, go for it.
So I'm still healing myself, and part of my healing journey, I'm going to be going to the Pachymama Sanctuary in Maine on April 9th, 10th, and 11th. I will be doing a spiritual ayahuasca ceremony, which is supposed to make me deal with some of the most difficult truths about myself. I was granted this opportunity uniquely through Vines and Valor. You can find them at vinesandvalor.com, and it's in a national group run by a gentleman named Troy. I apologize, I can't say his last name. I don't know how. It starts with a U. So
better than butchering it.
Yeah. Regardless, Troy is on Capitol Hill right now trying to get these things approved nationally. He's got a grant for 30 of us veterans to go try this experience and hopefully find a new avenue of healing. Not that it's going to work or not, but it's at least giving that experience with a lot of science. So find groups like that.
Awesome. And we're rooting for you, man. Hopefully you come back with some great success stories from that trip.
Yeah.
Thank you both. I greatly appreciate the time.
Thank you.